You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
All right. I know it's been a long time since the movie came out, but it took me a while to get to it. So today, we are going to talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, we're not going to run spoiler warnings because it's on Disney Plus, and it's been on Disney Plus for weeks. So I think it's fair game. Because if I finally got around to watching it, you guys are on your own if you haven't yet. So stick around. Dan Wickline Show, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, coming right up. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is Tuesday, July 19th, and we are in the week of Comic-Con. That's going to be huge because not only are we seeing just a ton of announcements from every company. I mean, my email has just been blowing up with announcements from Dynamic Forces, or Dynamite Entertainment, from Boom Studios, from Dark Horse. I mean, some of the stuff I've gotten is, Marvel has a new book with Moon Knight and Elsa Bloodstone. There's going to be a monster book. Dynamite is making a bunch of deals and stuff, including a new Peter Cannon series, a new Alice Cooper book, stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of really big stuff coming out. And then we're also going to get the movie news. Marvel is finally back at Comic-Con. Marvel Studios is going to do a Hall H panel by the hoary host of Wickline. Nice. Hey, cool gamer. Hey, JD. So we're going to get news this week from Marvel Studios. We'll probably get some from Warner Brothers. We'll probably get new footage from She-Hulk and Black Panther, probably Black Adam. I mean, it's kind of hard to judge exactly what we're going to get, but will there be big announcements? The rumor mill is just cranking like crazy. Jay, who's producing today, and I were just talking about some of the fun rumors that are out there right now. A lot of them evolve around the Fantastic Four. There are some people saying that, we are going to find out this week who the director is going to be, who the cast is going to be, because it's supposed to be the end of Phase 4. So they're going to have to get around to giving us info, making the movie. Other people say it'll be D23. One of the names that keeps popping up for director, which I honestly can't see this one happening, but they're saying Steven Spielberg is talking about directing the Fantastic Four. There is talk about John Krasinski directing it because, A Quiet Place and stuff like that. And of course, he could star as Reed Richards. Another name I heard, and this one was kind of weird because I don't know if they were talking her directing or her as Invisible Woman, but the name's slipping my mind. Come on, Dan, find it. Bryce Dallas Howard is who they're talking about. So finally getting a sequel to Fan Fortic. Yes. Yeah, that was horrible. Hey, Kenneth, how you doing? So that's just some of the rumors. Another one I've heard is that Jason Segel is going to voice the Thing for, they'll do a CG motion capture like they do with Mark Ruffalo, but it's going to be Jason Segel's voice. And they're saying, but he's going to show up first in She-Hulk. She-Hulk's getting a lot of buzz right now. They're saying it's going to be just a cameo fest. We're going to get Abomination. We're going to get Daredevil. We'll get The Thing and a bunch of other people. I think you have to take all of these rumors with a grain of salt, partly because it's just a lot of sites trying to get attention right now. There are Twitter accounts and websites that do not really source their work. They just throw out there and just make up stuff to get people's attention. There's one thing online, I don't even want to say their name, but on Twitter that is constantly posting what are supposed to be Marvel updates, and you look at their stuff and it's like, where did that come from? You know, Dr. Doom's going to appear in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Okay. Yeah, I've heard that as a rumor, but that saying that it's going to happen, or this person's going to reprise their role in this movie. It's like, it's just, you know, I mean, you got to look at the sources. There's a rumor right now that Emily Van Camp is going to come back as Sharon Carter in Captain America 4, and it's based on the fact that there is some promo art that has her in it with Sam. Now, is that possible? Who knows? That the fact that there's promo art, is that promo art from that, or was it actually from the Falcon, the Winter Soldier? I mean, there's just so much BS out there that you really need to just assume it's fake until it's confirmed. I mean, if a source like Vanity Fair, Variety, Deadline, one of them is running, the Hollywood Reporter, if one of them is running the news, TV Line's another one, then you go, okay, there's some validity to it because they're really well sourced. Great. There's some scoopers out there that tend to have good sources. They have a track record of being right more often than not. So when they say something, you talk about it, you think about it, but you don't really bank on it. And then there's sites like We Got This Covered, which should just be called We Made This Up. Which I have thought about just making a website called We Made This Up and just put out movie news. You know, Danny DeVito cast his new live-action King Kong. Just put that out there, see what happens. You know? JD says, do you know how to turn on a computer? Great. You're hired to write articles. Yep. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's all that backlash right now with Zack Snyder. I just saw an article before I came on saying that Zack Snyder threatened Jeff Johns. It's like, why? I don't know. There's an old term about not wanting to see how the sausage is made. And the problem now is we get to see the sausage all the time, and it's not fun. It's the same thing in the comic industry. And I'm probably older than most of you, but when I grew up, we had, you know, in the 60s, well, in the 70s, I was born in 1970. I would read the comics and I'd read the bullpen bulletin and I'd read some of the older books too. And to me, the Marvel bullpen was just guys that loved making comics. It was just fun. Jeff says, where can we sign up for your new movie news app? I should honestly do that. But yeah, the Marvel bullpen was this fun place we all wanted to know. Jay says, you know, people could tune in tonight to the experience at 6:15 to see what's actually been announced as news, according to producer Kyle. Is that when he's doing his show? Because I know I'm the one sending him all the press releases.
I actually did it about an hour and a half ago and then edited it so that it made sense, to humans.
Okay.
And now I'm going to run it at 6:15.
So should I stop sending you press releases until tomorrow?
No, because I'm going to have something to talk about tomorrow.
Okay. I may start sending you other things like Viagra ads and stuff that I get too.
Just don't send me your porn bots. That's all I ask.
You couldn't handle my porn bots.
I get enough of them on this channel's YouTube page.
JD says Jeff Johns was allegedly a... Yeah. Well, Jeff Johns was supposed to be there to kind of keep... Back then, Jeff Johns' role was a little bit like Kevin Feige's, in that he was supposed to kind of keep the whole thing making sense. But the problem was he wasn't given the authority that Kevin Feige had. There was never a go do this. And Kevin Feige had to fight for it in the beginning too, because he had the, the creators group or whatever it was from Marvel that he had to fight with, and fighting against Ron Perlman and all that stuff. So eventually he got the power. But Jeff Johns was supposed to do that job, but didn't have the authority to go with it. So nobody, they kind of did what they wanted. So yeah, the main thing I'm trying to say is if you tune in at 6:15 today or every day and you hear it from Kyle, then it's probably an official announcement. Or if you get it from one of the sites I mentioned as reputable. But if it's We've Got This Covered or Giant Robot, or is it Giant Freaking Robot, or some of these other sites, and they say Ryan Gosling's going to play Nova. No, that hasn't been announced. It hasn't been confirmed. Ryan Gosling talked to Marvel. Marvel talks to a lot of people. Marvel's been talking to Keanu Reeves on and off for years. You don't see Keanu Reeves in a Marvel movie, right? So take it all with a grain of salt, unless you can, the bona fides are there. So yeah, just think about it that way. Also, there's also a lot of news about James Gunn, and people are like, well, what would James Gunn do if he was given carte blanche and able to do more Guardians movies? James Gunn has made it very clear. He wanted to do a story, and he's done it now. The end of the third Guardians movie is the end of the story James wanted to tell. James wants to move on now, and the Guardians as we know them is not going to exist anymore. Will there be a new Guardians team? Maybe. If it is, it'll probably be in somebody else's control. Will James do other Marvel stuff? He hasn't said. He's got more DC stuff coming up. He's going to do more with Peacemaker and another spin-off series. But he comes out and tells people that a lot of these rumors are BS. And if you can't take the word of the guy because he also confirms things when, if he comes out and says it's BS, it's BS. So I don't know. I really hate some of the things on there. Or my favorite, and this is one of the more comic-based sites, came out the other day and said I think it was a surprise ending of Miss Marvel has a lot of Marvel fans furious. Furious. So I commented and I said, "Furious, really?" And someone wrote back, "Well, Furious gets clicks." And you're right. Marvel fans are furious. You're going to click on that. A couple Marvel fans are a little upset. I don't think you're going to click on that, but that's pretty much accurate. Furious? No. I don't think anybody, I don't think that collectively the Marvel fans are furious about the ending of Miss Marvel. Because from what I read earlier, Marvel fans weren't watching Miss Marvel according to these same sites. There is a serious lack of actual journalism in entertainment journalism nowadays. There are some legitimate sources, and then there is clickbait crap. Be careful what you read and what you believe, because it's going to lead you to a lot of disappointment. Now, that's different than theories. You know, like if you're a fan of some of these sites that watch the shows and then theorize or do Easter eggs and stuff, that's for entertainment purposes. They're not coming out and saying this is what's going to happen. This is their theory. And you're welcome to watch those, but keep in mind their theories, that the show's going to do what the show's going to do. So I feel like I started this off and somehow jumped on a soapbox. It's not Stan's soapbox, though. I think he kept that one. They might have it in a museum somewhere. This is just Dan's soapbox, and it gets a little preachy sometimes. So, but yeah, I have worked in, I guess, what would be considered comic journalism since 2013. I spent 5 years writing articles for Bleeding Cool. And I know they get a bad rap, but I also know that there's a certain level of professionalism they have that doesn't get talked about, that doesn't get revealed. They, you know, oh my God, they blew this spoiler. Well, most of the time they've reached out to the publisher and said, okay, this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. You know, they've contacted the publisher. A lot of these publishers want that kind of stuff because it gets news. But in my 5 years, in my 14,000 articles I did, and that's not a joke, I was doing 10 articles a day, every day, 7 days a week for 5 years. And in that time, I never made up a single story. I never made up a source. I didn't have to claim something or try to spin something in a way to get it, make it controversial. My two biggest stories in the time I was there, and these were huge numbers. One was the death of Lisa Spoonauer from the original Clerks movie. She died at a young age, and we were one of the first people to run her the notice that she had died. The other was I ran an article about the fact that I don't remember which one it is. One of the auto parts company, if you put in a certain part number, you get a flux capacitor. And it was a joke one of the programmers put in. They put in a flux capacitor auto part, and it's stuck in their system. And it's still in their system. And I just wrote up a fun little article about it. And it is probably one of our top, it was one of the top articles from Bleeding Cool. And we actually got a note from the actual auto parts company thanking us because it increased traffic to their website immensely. So, yeah, I didn't need to, come up with BS lines. Henry Cavill out as Superman. Didn't need to say the right stuff. That has not been confirmed. So, yeah. I have a real problem with the current level of journalism in comic and entertainment journalism. So, all right, again, got on the soapbox, going to step off. We're going to take our first break. We'll come back and we'll focus on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness right after this. Be right back.
Thanks for tuning into The Experience. Help us out and hit subscribe over on YouTube and click the bell when you do. Need some help? Scan the QR code in the bottom corner. Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. And today, finally, well, thank you, Jeff. We're going to talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, if you're wondering, why are we talking about it now? It's been weeks. It's been on Disney Plus for weeks. It's been out of the theater for 2 months, 3 months. I mean, well, it wasn't really out of the theater. It's still probably in the theater, but what took so long? And I'll tell you, it's two things. You guys know I've been having some health issues. So getting to the theater wasn't really on my list. And I haven't gotten over to see Thor. I am going to try to see Thor on Friday. I am getting well enough that a couple-hour trip to the movie theater should be possible. And it's an early enough showing that I can get that in so we can talk about Thor next week. But when Doctor Strange was out, wasn't the case. Now, why haven't we talked about it before now since it was on Disney Plus? That was partly because I was actually in the hospital when it debuted on Disney Plus. And then when I got out, I had seen so many clips of the Illuminati Scene. And I'm not a horror guy in the first place. I'm not, and it's funny, I know, because when I first really started writing comics, I wrote a lot of horror comics. I've written for the 30 Days of Night series. I did a book called Savage with Steve. Well, I did a lot of things with Steve Niles, but with Mike Mayhew. Strange Cases with Steve Niles and Dave Hartman. The early Zenoscope stuff, the Grimm Fairy Tales. I have written quite a bit of horror. That said, I don't enjoy horror. I don't watch a lot of horror movies. They're very rare. And when I do watch them, they tend to be much older ones. Not a fan of the more modern stuff. I did go see about a year or so back, I went and saw that that really bad one from James Wan. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah. They ended up in the Seattle Underground at one point. It was just a atrocious movie. Anyway, that aside. No, it wasn't The Nun. I have to think about that. But, and body horror is one of the things that really turns me off. So the fact that everywhere I went, I was seeing Black Bolt's mouth getting removed and his head exploding, and then Mr. Fantastic being torn into spaghetti. And come on. Whether you've seen the movie or not, you've seen those scenes, haven't you? They're being played constantly. They're even still being played constantly. It became the big spoiler. It became, now they run them over and over again. They talk about, oh, they're going to bring, when are we going to get the Inhumans? They show Black Bolt's head being exploded. Oh, we're going to get the Fantastic Four and they're showing him being turned into spaghetti. I don't know why they want to keep showing that, but that became in my mind what the movie was. Now, going into it, I loved the first Doctor Strange movie. It's probably my go-to Marvel movie. It's one of the ones that, if it's on, I watch it. If I'm bored and I just want to throw something on real quick, Doctor Strange is probably the choice. Ant-Man's another one. I like the simpler movies. So it was kind of this love-hate thing. I loved the character. I loved what they did with the first movie. And I wanted to see what they did. But at the same time, I had a hard time just blocking out enough time to sit down and watch it. Because every time I thought about it, it's like, do I really want to sit through that scene? And how much more of the movie is like that? Well, late last week, I finally sat down, had time, like, all right, I'm just going to watch it. Turned it on. Let's go. And I got into it pretty quickly. One of the coolest things for me was when he's at Christine's wedding and he hears the noise outside, walks out to the balcony, sees what's going on, turns around, gives his glass, pulls out his handkerchief, and it spins around to become the cloak, and he just jumps off the building. And I thought that was one of the coolest entrances for a hero. I just thought that was great. And as soon as I saw that, I got back into it. I was in a Doctor Strange movie. No longer was I thinking about the Illuminati scene. It would come up, but I was into the movie. I really enjoyed the fight with, what did they call it, Golgotha or Gigantos, or basically Shumagorath. But I really enjoyed that. I loved Wong coming in. I loved how they played around with it. Wong was a badass. And I liked how his magic had a martial arts feel to it, more so than Stevens. I love the cloak. The cloak is always one of the best characters in the movie. It's got so much personality and is so protective of everyone. And that's something they did a really good job of in the What If series, is the cloak, personality of the cloak carried over in all the What If series. I like the fact that it got hurt and they actually pulled, I think, from another magical cloak to combine, to repair it. And that the magical cloak in the other universe was blue. I loved all that stuff. I liked America Chavez. I really appreciated her character. I loved her backstory. I liked traveling through the multiverse and how There were all those. I would like if they would have spent a little more time in a couple places, but they jumped through so quickly. It was more of a teaser. And I mean, sure, they didn't need to hang out in the Paint universe, but I would like to have seen them maybe stop in one or two for a little bit more to get a better feel for them, and then get to the one we wanted to. Bruce Campbell's cameo was fun. The fact that Sam Raimi got so many of his things put into it, whether it was the camera angles, his Oldsmobile 88, all that stuff, that was great. The Illuminati scene. The thing that kept me from watching it, should have spent more time in Hot Dog Fingers universe. Yeah, that would have been interesting. Would have liked that. A little longer with the Living Tribunal. That would have been interesting. You know, stuff like that. But the Illuminati scene, I thought it played interesting, because usually the current Earth is the most arrogant. And it really comes across like the 838 or 830, whatever, the 838, I think it was. That universe was the most arrogant. That we could learn something from that. You know, yeah, they were able to defeat Thanos, all of that. But for Mr. Fantastic to simply say, you know, oh, Black Bolt could, you know, stop you with one word from his mouth. That was dumb. You know, it was just an arrogance to them. And the Illuminati is about arrogance, so I thought that was actually appropriate. But you get the feeling that if there ends up being an Illuminati in the 616, I guess we're going with now, if it ends up being an Illuminati in the 616, I think it'll be a little less arrogant. Because Stephen would be bringing the knowledge that they got their butt kicked like that. Because they were arrogant. They could have just attacked in different ways. They could have held Black Bolt back and let Captain Marvel and Captain Carter get in there, see what they were dealing with, and then use Black Bolt as the ace in the hole. There was a lot of ways to do it. They kind of did that with Professor Xavier, but again, it didn't work out. Their real ace in the hole was Black Bolt, and they wasted him up front. It's still a pretty disturbing scene, and maybe it's just me. You know, did you guys have any problems with that scene? Is it disturbing to see somebody's mouth just suddenly disappear and then have their head pop and die? And then what they did to Mr. Fantastic? Even Captain Carter getting slit in half by the shield, you know, none of that was pleasant. And I get it was not supposed to be, but it was a little much for a Marvel thing. They got X-Forced. Well, the thing with X-Force was it was done with a little more humor, you know. So I guess they kind of downplayed it. And there's a violence level in Deadpool that you kind of accept. It's an R-rated movie. This was a lot lower in tone, you know? So I guess that's what bothered me about it. But that was about the only thing that bothered me about it. I really got into the movie. And once that scene was over, again, it There's a couple plot holes, a couple moments that you stop and go, once you went into the crossroads thing, why didn't you close the door? Because then she wouldn't have been able to come after you. Stuff like that. The third eye thing. I don't know how that's going to play out. And I think that's what I come to the end on the movie, which surprises me, is it feels like they took so long to get from the first movie to the second movie. And part of that was a pandemic. And part of that is they're just doing so many movies now that how long will it be before we get to a third Doctor Strange? We're set up for it. We got the post-credit scene. We've got him with a third eye now. Let's see. Werpenstein says, it could have been longer and more of a team fight. It would have made Scarlet Witch into a more powerful opponent. Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. They did wipe out Black Bolt and Mr. Fantastic really easily and quickly. Where Captain Carter is strong, but she doesn't really have any more powers. It seems like Scarlet Witch would have taken her out just as easily. So it just seems weird that she had more problems with those two than she had with Mr. Fantastic and Black Bolt. Let's see. Jay says, not sure how true it is, but I had heard this was actually supposed to come out before No Way Home. Yes. It was supposed to come out before No Way Home. The pandemic pushed it around. It also caused certain story changes because originally America Chavez, who was introduced here, was going to be in No Way Home and would be the way that people got through portals. So stuff like them finding the two other Spider-Men would have been America Chavez. And when they lost that character, the idea suddenly came, we'll just let Ned use a sling ring. Which I think is one of the fun things about the movie. You know, with him going, you know, my grandma always said that we were magical. You know, and it just turns out to be a fun thing in the movie. But it was something out of necessity because they lost America Chavez because of the flipping things around. But so, yeah, there was a lot of the pandemic really screwed up a lot of things for Marvel. So you get certain storylines that were cut, things that, you know, Falcon and Winter Soldier got really edited down and stuff because of the pandemic, because they had a pandemic plot line. You know, some things in Loki, some things in WandaVision. There was supposed to be a bigger ending for, what's the character's name? The one who was watching the show. She was from Thor. She was supposed to have a bigger ending, but when it happened, they couldn't get her back on set. So they did the scene with her hitting the guy with a car instead. So they're just, you know, they've been scrambling to try to make up for it because of delays. And also there's a lot of delays with the special effects now. So so Marvel is scrambling. Hopefully they're back on track now, that we're far enough along that things can get, you know, back to where they were. But then, you know, they bumped things too. They bumped the Marvels and moved everything else up one. So maybe by the end of this year, we'll be back on track. Darcy, thanks. Kat Dennings. That's it. Darcy. I knew Kat, but I knew that wasn't her character on the show. So, but yeah, there was supposed to be more Darcy in the ending, and we didn't get it. But the introduction of Clea, I think, is very interesting. Now, she might be able to help him get rid of the third eye thing. I'm hoping we don't just constantly see him with a third eye. It's a little disturbing. And it's not how I want to see Doctor Strange. Maybe it's just me. But she is a very interesting character. She's the real love interest for Doctor Strange. She brings a lot of backstory. The fact that she's from the Dark Dimension. She's the niece of Dormammu, the daughter of Uma. So we might end up with a whole Dark Dimension storyline for Doctor Strange, which would make a lot of sense. But, you know, Marvel has gotten into these big things, and they don't seem to be doing focused stories as much anymore. Shang-Chi was awesome because it just focused on that story. But where you get later into movies, they become these bigger things. I was talking with Jim Beard the other night on Pop Go the Writers, and we were talking about how the third movie in the franchise is always the big cameo fest. You know, the third Iron Man movie, they had all the extra armor in it because there really wasn't a lot of cameos to have. And we had the Iron Patriot. So that kind of started it. The third Captain America movie was Civil War. The third Iron Man movie was Ragnarok, which was basically a Thor and Hulk buddy movie with Valkyrie and Loki. And, you know, so there was a lot of stuff there. The third Spider-Man movie was No Way Home. A lot of cameos. Now, the third Doctor Strange movie, we got that in the second one with some cameos. But the third one might be even bigger. And it came up because we were talking about how there's a rumor that maybe they introduce another... there's supposed to be a rumor that they're going to introduce a super team in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which will be the third movie. So cameos in that make sense. And I still think that's how they're going to introduce the Fantastic Four. Partly because it makes a lot of sense, especially with them taking on Kang, but also because Peyton Reed, the director, always wanted to do a Fantastic Four movie. That was the original thing he pitched to Marvel, or I think he pitched a Fantastic Four movie to Fox, and then they went with I don't know if it was the Tim Story ones or the Fan Fortic ones, but a different movie got made. But I think that Fantastic Four pitch is what put him on the radar for Kevin Feige. So everybody knows that he wants to do the Fantastic Four, but they were going to go with Scott Derrickson. So maybe the thing was, well, we'll introduce it here in Peyton's movie, and then Scott can do it. Well, now Scott's gone. We don't know who the director's going to be, but there's still a possibility they're going to show up. But now I'm off topic. So let's talk about what's going to happen next for Doctor Strange right after a quick commercial break, and we'll come back right after this.
Get the inside scoop on everything happening at the Experience every week. Join our mailing list by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen and then watching your email inbox.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there, hi there, ho there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome, everybody. It's Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I am your host, Henry Kumpa. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash. Hello and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in a minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadet.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody! Welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show.
Everybody is welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box? What's in the Box?
Comic culture and sales.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. You're going to want to stick around for Minute to Skim It with Miss Jen. And then tonight, Kyle, myself, and Jay will be talking what's in the stores this week on a show called In Stores This Week. And some of the books we're going to be talking about tonight: Young Hellboy, Count Crawley, Armorclads, Samurai Red Sonja, Rick and Morty Infinite Hour, The Rocketeer, Alice Ever After, and Mad Balls versus Garbage Pail Kids. Yep, we got a great lineup tonight for the show. I specifically grabbed the Mad Balls versus Garbage Pail Kids for Kyle because I had a feeling that was right up his alley. So I am told there will be no Kyle tonight. That's a shame. So it'll be just Jay and I. All right. Let's finish talking about Doctor Strange. So what did we leave off on Doctor Strange? We think Scarlet Witch may be dead, but I doubt that because I think Elizabeth Olsen just signed a new contract. The Doctor has a third eye. Clea showed up. Wong is still Wong. And Carmitage is going to need some rebuilding. But where does it go next? Dormammu was... I think in the first movie, Dormammu was a teaser. Dormammu is the big bad for Doctor Strange. And so is Mordo. And there's rumors that the 616 Mordo was going to be killed in the Doctor Strange movie, but the scene got cut. Scarlet Witch was going to kill him because he was going to go after her. Then they decided not to use that. And the 838, I think is that what the 838 Mordo lived. So it would make sense if Dormammu ends up using Mordo as a tool. Though this particular Mordo is so against the use of magic and stuff that having him start working for Dormammu might be weird. But I think we definitely have to get back to Dormammu. Because Doctor Strange tricked him, which is how he did in the first time. He really kind of tricked him. He never really defeated him. So it definitely feels like there needs to be a showdown between the Doctor and Dormammu. And Clea is the perfect avenue into that. She's a great character. Currently in the comic world, she's the Sorcerer Supreme. And at one point, her and Doctor Strange are married. Well, as married as you can get from a next dimensional being. She is part of whatever Dormammu is, because his sister is another alien race. I don't remember what it's called, but they can be huge or they can be normal size. Maybe Dormammu will take his comic form, which is possible. Keep in mind that in the movie, Benedict Cumberbatch voiced Dormammu. So they could make that happen, and he shrink down to a man's size with a flaming head. But that's a ruler of the dark dimension thing, that you get the flaming head. But Dormammu's always had a flaming head, so it's kind of a strange. Because I know when Clea took over the dark dimension, she got the flaming head. Which now makes me think of The Simpsons and, hey, Homer, you want a flaming Mo? But, yeah. But, yeah, I think there's a whole dark dimension storyline that they could do, but it doesn't feel like what they would do in the MCU. So I have a feeling they would take that and blend it. You didn't expect a Mo impersonation, did you, Jay? So yeah, I have a feeling they'll kind of tie into that. The third movie will be a Dormammu, Doctor Strange thing. It'll involve the dark dimension, but I think it'll be twisted. I don't think it'll be straightforward. I don't think we'll spend the whole movie in the dark dimension, because then you got to establish what the dark dimension looks like. And you don't really get a happy looking dark dimension. If you play Marvel's Marvel Future Wars, is that what it is? Marvel Future Revolution? Yeah, Marvel Future Revolution. Then you see Dark Dimension, and it's not a very friendly looking place. Where Epstein says, I'm not too familiar with the Mystic Marvel stuff, but could Dormammu work with Agatha Harkness, as he seemed to be going somewhere with her at the end of WandaVision? Yes. That is possible. The thing is with Agatha, though, is she's not normally a villain. She's questionable. But in the comics, she helps Wanda and also becomes the nanny for Franklin Richards. So she works for the Fantastic Four. So that's kind of a weird thing there. So I could see her coming back. It really comes down to what the House of Harkness is going to be, or Agatha House of Harkness, and what they want to do with the character. But yeah, she is somebody who could factor into this. Remember, the Darkhold gets destroyed. So that takes something off. But the fact that Doc still has that third eye makes me think that something about the Darkhold still exists. Maybe Chthon still exists. Maybe once you tap into it, as long as Chthon exists. So there's also a lot of other places they could go. They could go with Nightmare. They could go with Chthon. I mean, there's a lot of different directions. But introducing Clea makes it seem like they're going to go the Dormammu route. Also, it really comes down to how many movies can you get out of Benedict Cumberbatch? How often does he want to put the cloak on? Because if he's up for doing 3 or 4, then maybe you go, Dormammu now and Nightmare later. You go with Mephisto. But at this point, will they ever introduce Mephisto? Because it feels like he's never going to live up to the hype. People have been like, oh, Mephisto, Mephisto, Mephisto. I kind of would like to see them just go, no, we're not doing Mephisto. No. We don't need to. We don't need the devil. Yeah, just Agatha's fine. So yeah, I think that's... I think by bringing Clea in, Dormammu makes the most sense for the next villain. But I could also see them doing, okay, the incursion happens to be with the Nightmare Realm, because if you noticed, the dream thing was going on, dream walking, maybe that wakes up Nightmare, and we get a movie with Nightmare in it, and then once he's established this working relationship with Clea, she gets to the dark dimension, and he has to go rescue her. I could see that happening. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. So, like I said, it really comes down to how long will Benedict play Doctor Strange. And what's funny is it's a character that could get a little older. That, because it's not that physical, I could definitely see them getting him to stick around. So, Jay, I will happily write a movie for anybody willing to pay me. So, Kevin Feige, call me. I'll do it. Warner Brothers, Zaslav, what you need, Valiant, I'm there to do a Ninjak movie. Whatever you guys need. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. I really enjoyed Doctor Strange 2. I still like the first movie a little better. I could have done without the Illuminati scene or maybe tone it down a little, but I thought the rest of the movie was really good. Maybe a little less of zombie Doctor Strange, but I got that, and I thought it was kind of cool. And it definitely was Sam Raimi's thing. So I'm good with Zombie Strange. And I'm even good with him just telling America Chavez that, you've been in control of your powers all along. So, U-Bowl. You know what? If U-Bowl wants me to write a movie and has a check, I don't know what video game he'll want to adapt. But I give it a shot. So, all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to stick around for Minute to Skim It. And in stores this week. Plus, Kyle giving you the latest news from San Diego Con. You got all that coming up tonight. So stick around for that. And we'll see you in a few hours. Good night, everybody.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.